Hello and welcome to another episode of 1000 Actually Fun Books, where we review books of every genre, looking for the best of fun escapist books. Today we're doing a romance. The title is To Love a Beast by Karen Witemeyer. So the genre is romance. It is based off of a fairy tale, the Beauty and the Beast fairy tale, specifically the Disney version of Beauty and the Beast fairy tale, but there is no magic in this. This is totally grounded in real life. So the beastly look is somebody who's scarred up, and the characters you kind of recognize from the Disney cartoon Beauty and the Beast make appearances, but they're not magical furniture, they're just people, things like that. So it feels like it should be a fantasy, but it is not. This is just pure romance. It also is a very light Christian, historical fiction, so that's kind of the genre. The plot, I really don't need to say much about the plot because it is the Beauty and the Beast romance story. A young lady who is a bookbinder and her father, who is a bookbinder, get a commission to this old reclusive castle, that people are scared of because he's menacing, and she comes to rebind the books, to recover in leather the books in his library. So that's kind of the reason that she is at his location. And at first he's kind of standoffish, not really excited about having her there, but they get to know each other, fall in love, live happily ever after. You know how it goes. Yes. So this book, like I said, is based off of the Disney version of Beauty and the Beast, not the fairy tale version. So things that if you're familiar with the fairy tale don't show up here, and things if you are familiar with the cartoon version from Disney do show up here. So as an example of that would be Belle, in this case her name is Callista, is the only daughter of an entrepreneur / inventor, and he's a bit clumsy and makes mistakes and stuff, but she helps him in his endeavors. And this is very different from the fairy tale, wherein her father was a merchant who had several daughters and lost everything in a shipping accident or something like that. And so very different circumstances. It very much follows the movie. You don't have to have watched the Disney version to follow this. It is kind of fun for the Easter eggs, and most people I'm sure have seen this, but you don't have to have. It's a complete story in and of itself. And it's not so explicitly following the movie that you feel like you are watching a novelization of the film. It's really not. It is very much its own thing, but it has enough allusions to the film that you're like, oh yeah, there's that. Like, for example, the housekeeper / cook in his manor house, the Beast's manor house, is named Mrs. Potter. In the movie, it was Mrs. Potts. So things like that, where you're like, oh yeah, look at that, that's funny. But there isn't really any huge cloning of all the steps involved in the movie. The author did a really good job of being just close enough to have Easter eggs, but far enough away to feel like its own story. Granted, the Beauty and the Beast story is familiar and has been redone a bazillion times, so you know what the steps are going to be in this story. It does have that familiarity. Okay, so I've given you a whole bunch of plot and some things about it. So some things that I like beyond just the basic story and the Disney callbacks, I want to say is the things that they changed from the movie or elaborated on from the movie I really liked. For example, in the movie, Belle is taken prisoner by the Beast, basically. She is in trouble. She's going to be locked up, sort of, kind of. And in this book, nothing like that happens. She is there as an employee. She's expected. She has freedom to leave at any time. There is none of that, prisoner situation with her love interest, which can be a little sketchy if you think about it. There are also some other changes. For example, they do have the ballroom scene where the Beast and the Beauty dance, in a lovely, romantic setting. Well, in the movie, you kind of get, why did this suddenly happen? They just decide to have a private ball for themselves and dance. There is no real explanation. And in this book, it gives a good explanation for that. I will also say I really liked the change that they did on why Belle, in this case Callista, went up to the forbidden area of the house. In the movie, she kind of goes up just purely from curiosity. She wants to because it's forbidden. And that's really a poor reason to invade somebody's privacy. He says no, and she's like, well, I'm going to anyway. Well, in the book, it's not like that at all. It gives a very good reason for her to have shown up where she shouldn't have been. And I liked that a lot better. In fact, everything like that changes from the book, from the movie, I tend to like the way this book did it better. I'm like, oh, that's just so much nicer, so much sweeter. I like our Beast, his personality in this, I think, is kinder and gentler. The kind of person that you can see our main character falling in love with, rather than being like, what did she see in him? I liked him. I liked our Beauty character. She is sweet and kind, perhaps a little bit too much so. I mean, she doesn't really have a lot of faults going into this, but that's okay for this kind of book. You expect them to be a little better than realistic in that respect, and that's okay for a romance book. But I did like the characters a lot. I liked Callista's relationship with her father. I liked the way the bad guy was handled for the most part. I liked the setup for why he is disfigured. Our Beast character, I just liked the whole plot of that and the characters and the relationships. It just seemed like a pretty good overall story for what you're expecting. There are no twists or surprises in this, really. You kind of expect things to happen the way they go up. But I liked the way it was written. It was a journey kind of thing that you enjoy the travel to the end, the happily ever after, even if you totally expect how it's going to get there. I like that. This is a Christian romance, so it is clean. You get kisses at the very end, and that's it. I liked that as well. The Christianity part of this is very light, but it felt very real, very realistic. It did not feel intrusive in a weird way. It was more like, you're going out and you're worried about somebody and you're like, God, please help them. And that's about, that's realistic, what somebody would actually do. So I really liked the way Christianity is incorporated in this. It says it is a Western, and I would say no. The book is not a Western. It takes place in America during, I guess, the Wild West, but it has nothing to do with the Wild West. It's really just, because it's very centered on our two characters in a very small setting, mostly the manor house, mostly the library. And so you really don't get a Western feel to this at all, but it does technically take place in Texas in 1870 or something like that. So you get, I guess, sort of Western there, but not really. So there's very little about this book I didn't like. You get there is some predictability. I wouldn't say that's a bad thing in this case. Most people who want to read this kind of book read it because they like that predictability. You want that happily ever after. And somebody who likes retellings of fairy tales tends to like books that have a very predictable plot because you know the fairy tale story. So it is predictable. That can be a negative, but again, it may not be. There is an occasional where the author does some telling rather than showing, usually on somebody, internal dialogue where they're kind of musing about what has happened or what they feel about something or how it has impacted them, where it's a little bit more like, and this opened his heart to, seeing love or something like that, where it's a little bit blunter perhaps than would have been ideal. But it's very little, and most people wouldn't even notice that at all. So it's not a big deal. Okay, so my overall feeling for this book is very positive. 2 thumbs up. I like retellings of fairy tales, and I enjoyed this one. I think the author did a good job with it. Retelling the fairy tale in a realistic setting, in an enjoyable way that's just different enough to make it not feel like you're reading the, script of a movie that you've seen before. So I liked it, and I recommend it. All right, so this is kind of a short review, but that's okay. I hope you enjoyed it and will enjoy joining me next week for another review. Thank you for watching.